to the third, but unfortunately final, part of the Don Beyer interview series.
What does your typical day as a congressman look like?
Every day is different, which is one of the best parts about it. Because I have lots of different responsibilities that we balance. You talk to my scheduler, I'm sure out there, Chris Wen, he's got the hardest job, which is to figure out where I'm going when. So on any given day, I'll probably do some things in the district. Like tomorrow morning, we're doing a press conference to try to get the FBI building, the new FBI building, moved to Springfield. And then I'll have things on the Hill. Like today, I'm talking to students from journalists from Washington Liberty. Just before we walked in, we were on an unclassified briefing on the object shut down. And what were they? And were they actually UFOs? Were they aliens? And were they said they weren't aliens. Even though they don't quite know what some of it has been recovered yet. So it's lots and lots of different things. Just our legislative agenda must have 50 items on it. And I probably, in a given week, will make 100 to 200 phone calls to all kinds of people in the district. Just touching base and trying to figure out what's going on and how I can help and contribute. It's really fun, by the way.
Yeah.
And unlike, I'm the most spoiled member of Congress because I live closest. I live in Alexandria.
Yeah.
Most people in Congress have to spend a good part of their week flying from California to here, and then flying here from California, and then like the guy from Montana has to take 2 planes and then drive 2 hours after he finally lands. I can be home in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a different challenge.
What is your proudest accomplishment as a congressman?
I would say the proudest and most important are actually probably a little different. I think ultimately the most important accomplishment that I hope to have is being a small part of the advocacy team that makes fusion energy real in our lives. And we've made a whole lot of steps in that direction. I was the lead sponsor of the bill for the huge tax credit for electrifying all the commercial fleet, the trucks and the pickup trucks and the vans and the electricians and the plumbers, UPS, all that. And the lead sponsor of the creation of the tax credit to pull carbon out of the air, which really doesn't make sense until we have fusion because you have to burn too much carbon to get the carbon out. But it's a really big deal when it happens. But I say the proudest piece has been the work we've done, again in a bipartisan way, with suicide prevention. And I worked really closely with a Republican from New York named John Katko. And he and I put together the Suicide Prevention Caucus. And among the many little/big things that have come out of that are the 988 number, which is now the new suicide hotline, the lifeline. Because no one knew the 10-digit number before. Mm-hmm. There's a 500,000 call increase just last August when the number rolled in. So who knows how many suicides will end up preventing because of that. The second is the barriers bill, where we keep funding money to state and local governments to take away those proximate places where people can die by suicide. Think of the nets on bridges, which are coming out more and more around the country. Then the third thing is just a suicide campaign, which is in the current budget. We're trying to get a lot more money to it, which is to tell everybody around the country what to look for in somebody that may end up having suicide ideation. It's 47,000 people, which is a pretty, in a country of 335 million, it's a pretty small percentage, but it's still, if that's your family or your friend, it's devastating. And so we want to cut that in half and then cut it in half again. And then, by the way, yet another place where there's a lot of different work going on with machine learning and suicide prevention. For example, one small statistic, it's a whopping percentage of people who die by suicide have had an emergency room visit in the previous 6 months. How do you take that one little data point, put it with other data points and say, Izzy is at risk?
Yeah.
Let's make sure that she has the resources she needs to make sure that, you get peaks of upset, but then most of your life isn't like that. You want to get through that peak of upset and back to the normal little upsets that we all have. So.
Why do you think WNL students should care about what's happening at Congress?
And this is going to sound to a carpenter, everything looks like a nail, right? Because I'm in Congress, I tend to see Congress as setting the larger agenda for all of our lives in the United States. One of the reasons I love politics so much is because ultimately it's the politicians who decide who has money and who doesn't. Economic impact payments, the child tax credit, tax policy, who goes to war and who doesn't. Who has food and who doesn't. The reason you should pay attention to Congress is the life you have and the lifestyle you have is going to be hampered or helped by the decisions that we make in Congress. For example, you have 40,000 gun deaths a year. Congress will not act to tighten gun measures in this country. Well, if you want to say why are there 40,000 gun deaths, you say it's because of Congress. There's a whole lot of things that we could do. I'm not saying this, but in Australia, they went and passed laws, their Congress, to make guns illegal. So if you're a farmer, you can have if you're a hunter, you can have a rifle. If you're a farmer, you have a shotgun. But basically, the number of guns went way down. And they don't have any of the things like happened in Michigan, Michigan State yesterday. Yeah. They don't have the Wlhstv. Or if they do, it's a fraction of what we have. And that's Congress, for better or worse. We do good things, we do bad things.
And finally, getting short on time here, what advice do you have for WNL students?
That the big division in America is between the good education and the no education. We have almost 11 million jobs advertised right now. And when you go off to Tech or James Madison or UVA or Christopher Newport or wherever, or go to New England or go to California, when you get that good undergraduate education, or Nova and then George Mason. I'm in George Mason right now, getting I think a really good education. I'm really happy about it. You get that education, you're going to be a much stronger prospect for your employer and your future. And by the way, it's very well shown that the more education you have, the longer you live, the more likely you are to be happily married, the more likely you are to be happy, period, and the healthier you're going to be. When you look at we have 5 million Americans unemployed. Who are they? They're mostly the high school graduate or less, especially the or less, living in rural and inner city America. And when they even go to apply for the jobs, they so often have a drug problem and they can't get hired. Mm-hmm. Or the second category is that they were workers displaced by the global shift to technology. So they used to put the car together, now the car is put together by a robot. But the dilemma is, since they only had the high school education, all they know how to do is put the mirror on. It's really hard for them to roll over to a different job. Right now, the average manufacturing job in America is $130,000. So it's a good income. It's way above the national average. But they're all technical. You don't necessarily need a college education, but you need to be smart and have paid attention when you're in school.
Thank you for watching, and thank you, Don Beyer, for the wonderful interview.
Hey Generals, welcome back to Student Corner. Today we asked Mr. Presidial how senior experience works. So listen up, seniors.
So senior experience is 3 weeks at the end of the school year from May 22nd through June 9th, where seniors have the opportunity to get an internship, work a job that they either get or already have, or complete an independent project during those 3 weeks. And essentially they are working either at the job or the volunteer placement for 20 hours per week, so a total of 60 hours. And it gives them an opportunity to get some interaction with the real world, or maybe get an internship that they were always interested in, or complete a project like a musical album or a collection of short stories that they always wanted to do but didn't necessarily have the time to complete. And so right now, all seniors should go to the Canvas page. Every senior got an invitation to join the Senior Experience Canvas page. And on the Canvas page, there are a number of different aspects of the application that need to be filled out before April 21st. So currently there are 3 aspects open right now. So the first aspect is the student information and permission form. It's a very easy one, basically just giving us your student information and making sure that you understand all the aspects that are required for senior experience. The second thing, the mentor confirmation and the actual application. This application walks you through the steps that need to be approved before you can head off to senior experience. The mentor confirmation is just the information for the adult that is you're going to be working with, and that will be verifying your 60 hours throughout senior experience. By March 17th, next Friday, the parent permission form should be open. So right now we have 3 of the 5 aspects open for the application, and then by March 17th, 4 of the 5 will be open.
Audio Jungle.